Hey, welcome to my channel. Today I have a moment of sanctuary for you, which is a story that I like to share from my own life and experiences and just my own opinions and reflections of where I notice the sacred interacting with the ordinary. And this is a reflection on 9/11. And today is not 9/11. However, we have come to a point in US history that we have an entire generation that the teenagers were mostly not even alive. If they were alive, they were 2 and under. So they have no memory themselves of the events of that day. And it is important for all of us who do that we share those with the next generation and we ask them to consider the lessons that came from that and maybe even learn about life a little bit now because so much changed from that. And I just want to also say up front that my heart goes out to all those that were directly affected by it, that this is kind of my reflection of my journey through that process. And I stand in solitude and in reverence of the losses of that day. When 9/11 happened, I myself lived in Texas at the time. I was in Dallas at the Presbyterian Hospital. I was undergoing treatments for cancer. And though my prognosis was good, that I was almost undoubtedly going to be healed from my cancer, that's where I was that morning, waiting for my radiation treatment. And that just happened to be the morning that my orders were probably going to be changed to a different field of radiation or a different frequency. And so we needed to get the doctor's approval. And now I know why it was so hard to track down the doctor most likely that day. But I ended up, what used to be 20-minute periods was about 2 hours that I spent that morning in the hospital. And the interesting thing was that even though the waiting room had big TVs and they were on the news, because let's face it, that day there was nothing but this on the TV, not a single patient was watching the TVs, including myself. I know they were on, I know they were there, not watching. At one point, because I stayed there long enough to have patients coming in and out, there was a woman that was sitting next to me. I asked her, how it was, and she said, well, I'm getting my radiation to extend my life, but I'm not gonna make it. I'm just trying to get through as long as I can to spend time with my family and get my affairs in order. And I told her how sorry I was and sat in silence until it was her time, and just offered up a prayer for her and her family. And I don't even know her name, but there's a sacred moment of sanctuary where you encounter somebody who's struggling that path. And as I'm driving home that day, this is before cell phones, or before I had a cell phone, I should say, I'm hearing on the radio for the first time, what's going on? I was confused, just trying to listen to it on the radio. And I get home, it took me about 45 minutes to get home, and my husband has the TV on. All this is going down, and I see the images of the buildings now falling over and over for the rest of the day. And I understand this. And being in Texas, I did not know anybody directly in harm's way that day, but I knew people who knew people. So that was my first kind of experience with that. Then we moved to Virginia, where we actually encountered people who directly knew people who were involved in the Pentagon or were from Pennsylvania at the site of the Flight 93 crash, or knew people or had relatives in New York City. Then the year after that, 2003, we went to, I apologize if you can hear my cats. We went to Brooklyn, which I also have shared another story, and we were in Brooklyn in 2003. And while we were there, one of the women who were hosting us at the church we were staying at shared that her brother worked in the South Tower, and she actually was on the phone with him as the building came down. And that was a whole firsthand close experience that I had not had before. And I took my youth to Ground Zero, and there was no memorial yet. This was way still early, and there was still debris that was left on that site with caution tape, and it was still messy, and everybody was debating what to do with this space. And it's beautiful now, of course, but that first encounter of making that firsthand was a very powerful moment for myself, for the youth, and just this concept of people struggling. So the two lessons were to pass it on to the generations so that we can learn and hopefully not make some of the same mistakes, or that we can engage with those we disagree with to try to find common ground without war and without these horrible moments. And then secondly, that today is somebody's 9/11. Those people that I was sitting with in the hospital, the reason why nobody was watching TV or paying attention was we were already in crisis. There was already people right next to me that didn't know that they were going to have another tomorrow. So it makes me aware that even on this day, there may be someone who was experiencing what I was experiencing with 9/11, but it's today. And I can just sit with them. I can't fix it. You can't solve everything, but just sitting with someone and saying, I'm with you. I'm sad with you. I will pray for you. I care is sacred. So may you on this day remember that you have been fearfully and wonderfully made. And may you on this day have those people comfort you if you were in your day of 9/11. And if not, may you witness those who maybe could just use your presence or a hug or an encouraging word to know we're in this together. Blessings on your day.